Rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to discuss a chapter of history, class 6th, entitled as What, Where, How and When. Dear students, what is the purpose of history and what is history? Since history is the study of the ancient past, it acquaints us about the lives of the ancient people, what they wore, and how they lived their day to day life. It acquaints us about the life of craftsmen, herders, farmers, musicians, rulers, and a host of others. Since the traces of the human history, as per the historians, is recorded from the 2 million years. As far as our country India is concerned, locate the river Narmada in this map. You see, on the banks of the river Narmada, people lived some 2 to 3 lakh years ago on the banks of the river Narmada. These people were usually hunters and gatherers. That is, they gathered the forest produce adjacent to their area. They collected roots, fruits, and other forest produce. Some of the areas where the people began cultivating crops are Sulaiman and Kirthar hills in the northwestern region of India. Here, the people grew crops such as barley and wheat some 8,000 years ago. They also domesticated wild animals such as sheep, goat, and cattle. The other areas where the agriculture got its genesis, we can see here in the northeastern region. Here are Garo Hills, and you see in the central India here are Vindhya mountains. Historians maintain that here the cultivation of crops also culminated in the meantime. Similarly, the rice was first cultivated in the north of the Vindhya mountains. You see here are the Vindhya mountains. In this region, in the upper belt of the Vindhya mountains, the rice was first cultivated in India. Similarly, locate the Indus River in the northwestern region of India, and its tributaries. Here are various tributaries of Indus River, such as Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias, and Satluj, 5 rivers, which follow in the periphery of Indus. You see here the first cities developed on the banks of these rivers. You see here Harappa and Mohenjo-daro and Lodal cities, which were found here on the banks of these rivers. Similarly, in the northern region of India, here are 2 rivers that are Ganga and its tributary Sun. On the banks of these Ganga and Sun, the earliest cities developed, and these two areas, for instance, Indus and Ganga. The Indus city is developed in 4,700 years ago, and uh, uh, and in this region, the city is developed some 2,500 years ago. In the south of the Ganga, flourished a beautiful city known as Magda, the rulers of which were very powerful, and this city was very wealthy due to its iron ore reserves in the ancient times. You see, the Haryaka dynasty first developed here in the ancient times. The Bimbisara was their first ruler in 542 AD. In 542 BC. Similarly, all these people used to travel from one place to another in search of their livelihood. People from the Central Asia came here and mingled with the indigenous people and bring with them different cultures, different traditions, different religions, and in this way, our cultural heritage of India prospered in the ancient times, and they brought with them new ideas and new thoughts, new religions, and intermingled with the indigenous people, and thus the cultural growth of India flourished in the ancient times. In those times, trade flourished. People used to went from people used to go from one place to another in caravans, and the barter system prevailed in the ancient times. In this way, people from different cultures of the subcontinent give a new zenith to our culture. Similarly, for instance, there came people from Greek and Iran, who came from the northwestern region and who knew the river Indus and who called it Indos or Hindos. And the area in the eastern region of the Indus was called by them as India. Similarly, our country is also known as Bharat. Bharat is mentioned in the Rig Veda, in the Hindu, oldest Hindu book, some 3,500 years ago. Basically, the Bharata was a tribe in the northwestern region, and that tribe is mentioned in the Rig Veda, in the Hindu scripture. Since the historians give us evidences about these facts, there are three types of sources or evidences from which we accumulate the history of the ancient, medieval, or modern period. For instance, there is one source that is known as manuscripts. Manuscripts are handwritten documents. Manu is a Latin word, means hand. Handwritten documents. These handwritten documents were written on the bark of the birch or oak trees that are usually found in the Himalayan forests. Similarly, these manuscripts were written on the palm leaf. Many of these manuscripts have survived till date, and they are a proof. They are a proof about the ancient people. They are the proof of the ancient people what they did in their lives. Since many manuscripts have survived in temples and monasteries, and you see, these manuscripts and other books deal with all kinds of subjects. For instance, the lives of the kings, the common people, the craftsmen. Many books dealt with epics, poems, dramas, and many other issues. For instance, there is a epic, two epic books which are famous in Hindu religion are Mahabharata and Ramayana. And you see, similarly, these books, manuscripts were written in Tamil, Prakrit, Pali, and other languages, from which we accumulated the data of the ancient past. Similarly, there is another source which is known as inscriptions. Inscriptions. What are inscriptions? Inscriptions are writings on a hard surface, for instance, on stone or a copper plate. These writings are inscribed on these things. We found and we find many edicts of Ashoka inscribed on stones and on pillars, on walls, or on copper plates. Many kings got their victories recorded on these plates. In this way, these are a big source of his big source of ancient past. Similarly, there is another sphere of source that is known as archaeology. Archaeology are the remains of the ancient past. The ancient people used pottery, clothes, images, and many a host of things. Of stone tools, axes, burins, burrs, etc. Those all are found by the archaeologists. Archaeologists are those scientists who dig the earth and get the remains of the ancient people and study and study those objects. So many cities have also been dug up by the archaeologists. Recently, you see Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, Kodiji, Lodal, and many cities have been excavated by digging inside the earth. So these are the sources of history. There are many other sources also, but from which we accumulate the ancient past. In this way, the historians and archaeologists give proof about the ancient people, how they lived their lives and how they acquired the mastery in agriculture, in cattle rearing, or host of other activities. Now we'll come across the question answers. Dear students, here are question answers. Question number one, match the following. Narmada Valley, perfect match. Hunting and gathering. Magadha, the first big kingdom. Garo Hills, early agriculture. Indus and its tributaries, the first cities. Ganga Valley, cities about 2500 years ago. Question number 2. List one major difference between manuscripts and inscriptions. Manuscripts means handwritten descriptions, usually on palm leaf or on the bark of birch or oak trees, whereas inscriptions means engraved writings on hard surfaces such as stone or metal. Question number 3. What is archaeology? Archaeology means the study of the remains of the ancient past. It includes myths, pottery, tools, ornaments, buildings, stone or bone objects, etc. Question number 4. What were the subjects on which books were written in the past? Answer. Those books were written on royals' beliefs and practices, the lives of kings, medicine, etc. Besides, there were epic books such as Ramayana and Mahabharata, poems, plays, etc. Now write down the question answers and memorize. Don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thanks for watching. Assalamu alaikum.